In this lecture, we're going to look at composite indexes in MySQL. So let's go back to our SQL store database and look at the indexes in the customers table. So show indexes in customers. So here we have one primary or clustered index and 3 secondary indexes. Now, let's say we want to look for customers located in California who have more than 1,000 points. So let's write that query. Select customer ID from the customers table where state equals California and points is greater than 1,000. Now let's use the explain statement and see how MySQL executes this query. So here we have 2 possible keys or indexes. One is the index on the state column. The other is the index on the points column. But as you can see, out of the 2, MySQL picked the one on the state column. So no matter how many indexes we have, MySQL will pick a maximum of 1 index. Now look at the number of rows that are scanned here, 112. So using this index, we can narrow down our search to customers located in California. When MySQL executes this query, it uses our state index to quickly find customers located in California. But then it has to go through all these customers and check their points. This part of the query requires a table scan because we don't have the number of points for each customer in our state index. Now here's where things get tricky. What if we have 10 million customers in California? Our index definitely helps speeding up this query, but it only does half of the job. It only allows us to quickly find customers in California. The second part of this query involves a table scan. And because we are reading data from the disk, this will get slow as our customers table grows large. This is where composite indexes come to the rescue. With a composite index, we can index multiple columns. So here we can create a composite index on the state and points columns. And with this index, we can quickly find customers located in any given states with any number of points. Let me show you. So let's create a new index called IDX underline state underline points on customers table, and our columns are state and points. Let me zoom out a little bit. All right, that's better. So here we have a composite index on these 2 columns. You might be asking if the order matters. It actually does, and we're going to talk about that in the next lecture. For now, let's just go ahead and create this index. Now let's explain this query one more time and see how many rows are scanned to satisfy this query. 58. Previously, we had 112. So this composite index is doing a better job at optimizing our query. Also, if you look at the possible keys column, you can see we have 3 candidates here, the index on the state column, the index on the points column, and our composite index. Out of the 3, MySQL realized that this composite index does a better job at optimizing this query. So in reality, most of the time, we should use composite indexes because a query can have multiple filters. Also, later I will show you that indexes can help us sort data faster. So if you have multiple columns in an index, we can also speed up sorting of our data. One of the common mistakes that a lot of beginners make is they create a separate index on each column. As you saw in this lecture, these indexes only do half of the job. They don't help us get the optimum performance. Also, they take a lot of space, and every time you modify your data in your tables, these indexes have to be updated. The more indexes you have, the slower your write operations are going to be. Also, as I told you before, MySQL automatically includes the primary key of the table in each secondary index. So these single column indexes are going to waste a lot of space, and that's why it's better to use composite indexes. Now, how many columns should you include in your indexes? In MySQL, an index can have a maximum of 16 columns, and generally speaking, I would say that's a pretty high number. You don't want to hit that. I would say somewhere around 4 to 6 columns performs well, but don't take this as a hard and fast rule or as a best practice. You should always experiment based on your queries and the amount of data you have. So now let's drop these 2 indexes on the state and points columns. That's very easy. We type drop index IDX underline state on customers table. Let's execute this. Beautiful. Also, let's drop the other index. Now let's look at the indexes in the customers table. So currently we have 1 index on the last name column and a composite index on these two columns. Next, we're going to talk about the order of columns in a composite index.